Does he like you? Is he a good man? Will God lead this man to pursue you? If you enter into a relationship with this man, will he treat you biblically? While many women test men in unhelpful, worldly ways, there are times where a Christian woman should be testing a man. And so I'm going to give you 4 of those instances in this video. Number 1, to test a man, do more. When you read the Bible, there are so many stories where God uses his sovereign power to bring about his sovereign will. And yet, within all of those stories, there's also some element of human free choice. For example, I was just reading in Joshua chapter 6 through 7. And that's the story where God directs the people to march around Jericho and eventually making a loud noise and the walls crumble. And then in the next chapter, they go to another city. And this city's much smaller. There's no huge walls. And so Joshua sends way less fighting men and they end up losing. And Joshua and the people are like, oh no, what's wrong? So God says, well, somebody took the devoted things from Jericho and you didn't listen to me. So now your blessing is removed and your protection is removed. So you're going to keep losing until you root this out. So he gives them a process, and Joshua and Israel go through and do this whole process where they bring each clan, they bring each family, they bring each man, and eventually it's exposed that Achan did actually take things from Jericho that he was not supposed to take. And then they perform justice, they stone him, destroy everything that he owns, and then God's favor returns and they're able to beat this other city. So why do I tell you this story? Well, it's a great reflection of what God normally does. He has a sovereign plan. His power is being expressed, but he includes the choices of people. He could have just sent lightning bolts and destroyed the walls around Jericho. He could have just told Joshua, hey, Achan is the one who stole the things and brought this curse upon Israel, but he had them go through a process. So likewise, if you want to know the truth about a man, you can't be passive. The more interactions you have with this man, the more opportunities you're going to have to gain truth from his reactions. You will then gain tangible evidence to see how he really feels about you. Number 2, to test a man, do less. Okay, so let's say you've done what I've recommended in point 1. You've interacted, you've given him an opportunity to pursue you, but he responds positively when you do things. Things seem to be going well, but he's not being proactive. He's not the one initiating, which is what you want. You don't want to be pursuing a man, but you want to give him opportunities to pursue you. So if he's not doing that, now would be a great time to do less. Now, you could use this tactic in a worldly, manipulative way, and I'm not advocating for that type of thing. Rather, what I'm telling you to do is to be logical about this. And if a man's not pursuing you, you should actually begin to move on from him. Now, you don't have to cut him off completely. You don't have to block him on social media. I'm not saying that you need to make this man your enemy, but if he's not pursuing you and you've given him opportunities to by being in his presence, by talking to him, maybe even by inviting him to something every now and then and he shows up and everything goes well, but he's just not pursuing you, then you have to let this man's actions speak for his feelings. You have to begin to move on and accept that he's not pursuing you. Now, the thing is, this has 2 benefits for you. The first benefit is that you're being wise with your own heart. You're guarding your heart as the word of God commands you to do. And if you start backing away and he never pursues you, then, you're on the right track. You don't want to be exposing your heart and having all these hopes that are just going to lead to a bunch of unmet expectations. Now, the other benefit, however, is that if he does actually like you, and maybe he's just being passive or he's just on a different time frame than you, he's going to feel that you're backing away and he's going to do something about it. If he actually wants to be with you, he will do something when you start backing away. He will pursue you to say, oh, I'm sending the wrong message by being passive here. I need to do something more so she knows I actually am interested. Now, you may think this is a worldly tactic because maybe you've heard people say this, play hard to get, back away so that he likes you. I'm not talking about that. I'm really just saying this is honestly what God does. When we sin against God or when we're being passive, he does not just let his presence stay in the same way as though we were passionately pursuing him. To be in God's fellowship, you have to participate or else you will not be in fellowship with him. Number 3, to test a man, say yes. Many women want the assurance of what will happen if they give a guy a chance. And that's fair because no one wants to get hurt. We want to make sure we're guarding our hearts like we already talked about. However, if you've been hurt in the past by a guy that you opened up to, the solution to not getting hurt again is not to just always stay guarded and closed off towards every other guy. If a man's been respectful, if he's starting to pursue you, if he's done nothing to give you a reason to think that he's a bad guy, then you really should give him a chance. You're not going to know if he can pass the test with you if you never give him opportunities to pass the test with you. Now, one key here to guard your heart is to say yes in incremental ways that are wise and appropriate for the situation you're in. In other words, you don't need to have this very defined like no and then yes, and there's no in between. It's like this hard line where it's either a hard no or a full 100% yes. In between all this space are steps that you take that should be yes, yes, yes. There's a problem. Now I'm going to say no. And so you incrementally say yes to guard your heart. In other words, don't jump ahead too far. Don't go on a date with a man you met 5 seconds ago. Don't get into a relationship with a man you've gone on one date with. Don't marry a man you've dated for 5 weeks. But when an appropriate amount of testing has occurred during the phase you are in, you have to let him enter into the next phase with you if you want to see more truths. And again, another way to protect your heart is to reject him once he stops passing the test. A lot of times you will meet a guy who will pass enough tests to go on a date or maybe to become your boyfriend, and then something happens and you realize this is not acceptable anymore. What a lot of women do is they say, I've invested so much already. I already really like this guy, so now I'm going to keep going. You can't do that. Once he fails the tests and you know it's not good anymore, you need to reject him. So follow the principle God uses with people. He only gives much to those who have been first faithful with little. And number 4, you can test a man by saying no. I'm not saying that you should say no to a guy that you want to say yes to. Don't play worldly games. Don't play hard to get. If you should say yes, then say yes. What I'm saying is that sometimes a guy can seem like Prince Charming because you're bending over backwards to do everything perfect for him. So if things feel a bit rushed, just say something like, hey, I really am enjoying getting to know you, but I think I just need a little bit more time before I commit to you fully in a relationship. So if a guy just walks up to you out of nowhere and says, hey, you want to go on a date, but you're not comfortable with that, but you think he's handsome, maybe it's in a Christian environment, so there's a chance he might be a Christian, you could always say something like, I don't think I'm ready to go on a date with you, but you can give me a call sometime and we can talk on the phone and get to know each other. Or maybe you're in a relationship with a guy and normally he plans the dates and picks a restaurant. It might be a good idea to just test it a little bit and say, hey, thank you for planning this date, but would you mind if we went to this other restaurant I've been thinking about instead? So you're saying no to his idea if you normally say yes, to see how he responds. Can he change the plan? Can he take a different opinion? Now, notice the heart and the spirit behind what I'm talking about here. I'm not saying you should be demanding. Don't be rude. Don't be ungrateful if he's trying and he's planning, and don't be crazy with what I'm saying. Be appealing still. But eventually you do need to see how a man responds to your no, to see what type of character he actually has, and to see if he really likes you enough to compromise with you, or if he just likes you because you always say yes to everything. When God makes us wait for longer than we want, it is often used as a test to reveal our current character level. Another great way to test a man is to listen to the type of things and phrases he's saying to you. So in this video right here, I actually give you 6 things that God's choice for you in a man will never say to you. So this is another great test that you can perform on a man to see whether or not it's going in the right direction. I'm Mark from ApplyGodsWord.com. Until next time, God bless.